In today's world, something vital has gone quiet. The feminine essence once felt in a woman's softness, her depth, her quiet emotional wisdom is fading, not because it's weak, but because it's been forced into hiding. Outwardly, women still radiate beauty, style, and charm. But the deeper energy, the nurturing, emotional presence that once defined true femininity, has been replaced by something more guarded. Many women are no longer living from their soul. They are performing strength, performing independence, performing perfection. The world demanded it. The culture rewarded it. And so, the feminine began to adapt. Society didn't ask women to protect their softness. It asked them to trade it for status. It didn't teach them to trust their intuition. It taught them to compete. Over time, emotional warmth gave way to emotional survival. Women were praised not for their inner presence, but for how well they could dominate, detach, and outperform. And what made them magnetic, their ability to feel deeply, to nurture, to bring calmness and emotional texture into a room, was silenced beneath layers of control and self-reliance. It's not that femininity disappeared, it's that it was rebranded into something more masculine in nature, all about doing, achieving, and showing strength. But in that transformation, something sacred was lost. The feminine no longer flows freely. It's filtered, measured, conditional, and for many men, the result is deeply felt. They meet women who are beautiful, capable, and confident, but they don't feel the soul beneath the surface. They sense the shield, not the softness. They hear the words, but miss the energy. What was once a magnetic pull is now a quiet distance. And though the feminine still exists, she no longer leads with her heart. She leads with her mask, and it changes everything from an early age. Many women are taught to measure their worth by how much they achieve, how composed they appear, and how little they need others. The world doesn't teach them to embrace their emotional depth. It teaches them to manage it, suppress it, and replace it with ambition. As girls grow into women, they slowly learn that what gets praise isn't their sensitivity, but their strength. Not their intuition, but their intellect. Not their presence, but their productivity. So, they begin to shift. They start building an identity that mirrors what the world rewards: independence, control, and emotional distance. They wear their competence like armor. Their softness, once so natural, now feels unsafe to show. Vulnerability is avoided, not because they don't want to connect, but because they've been taught it's dangerous. The feminine presence, rooted in receptivity, intuition, and quiet emotional power, becomes replaced with performance. Women start curating their lives, filtering their emotions, and presenting versions of themselves that feel strong, but not real. The world applauds it. It calls this power. But beneath the applause, many women feel hollow, exhausted, disconnected from themselves. They long for rest. Someone to see past the persona and hold their truth, but they don't know how to step back into that space without fear. So the mask stays on. Emotional expression becomes a calculation. How much can I reveal without losing control? How much can I feel without looking weak? And as this way of being becomes normalized, the gap between performance and authenticity grows wider. The feminine becomes less about essence and more about image, and what was once a natural flow warmth. Emotion, presence becomes a rationed offering given only when it feels completely safe. But in a world full of masks, safety is hard to find. In the modern dating landscape, true intimacy has been replaced by interaction. Instead of deep emotional resonance, most connections today are built on surface-level exchanges, flirting through filtered images, conversations measured in character limits, relationships initiated through dopamine-driven apps rather than soul-level presence. What once began with genuine curiosity and emotional openness now starts with calculation and strategy. Women conditioned to protect themselves often approach connection with caution, not because they don't want intimacy, but because they've been trained to fear it. The feminine presence once felt in how a woman listened, looked, or simply was, has become difficult to access. Many men today speak to women who appear emotionally available, but beneath the surface is a quiet withholding. A contact that once lingered now glances away. Laughter that once flowed freely now feels controlled. Vulnerability once shared. As a bridge is now delayed, indefinitely held back until the moment feels impossibly safe. But that moment rarely comes because everyone is guarded. Everyone's performing. As a result, many men find themselves engaging with a woman's mask, rather than her spirit. They feel her beauty, her intelligence, even her interest, but they don't feel her heart. She's present, but not emotionally open, and that absence is palpable. It's not intentional. It's a form of self-protection, a survival instinct. Taught by a world that punishes vulnerability and rewards emotional detachment. Women don't withhold because they don't care they withhold, because they've been told not to trust what they feel. And so the sacred space where true love could grow or surrender, emotional safety and honesty, once lived remains, untouched. Conversations replace connection. Attention replaces affection. In a culture that values control over openness, real feminine energy doesn't vanish. It hides, waiting for something deeper, waiting for someone safe enough to draw it out. In the name of strength, many women have unknowingly stepped into a form of isolation. Independence, once meant to empower, has evolved into a shield, one that keeps them self-reliant but emotionally distant. Society told women to never need anyone, to always be in control, to protect themselves at all costs. So they listened. They became capable, efficient, untouchable. But in the process, something essential was lost: the ability to receive. Love without fear, to surrender without guilt, to feel deeply without shame. The feminine spirit is designed to flow, not fight. It's meant to express, not suppress. But when the world only rewards toughness, many women begin to fear their own tenderness. They stop trusting their emotions, second-guess their intuition. They associate softness with weakness and control with safety. They don't stop wanting connection, but they no longer know how to fully relax into it. Being open now feels like exposure. Receptivity feels like risk. And love begins to feel more like a negotiation than a surrender. So, even in relationships, many women remain emotionally armored. They crave to be met deeply, but they don't know how to drop their guard long enough to allow it. They say they want intimacy, but they're too conditioned to lead, to direct, to stay 10 steps ahead. They can build businesses, raise children, and lead movements, but they struggle to simply be held, seen, and emotionally supported without feeling like they're giving up power. This isn't a flaw. It's a survival pattern. But it's one that comes with a cost. It's because real connection, the kind that nourishes the soul, requires trust, not control. And until a woman feels safe enough to stop performing strength and start embodying truth, she'll keep holding back. It's not because she doesn't want love, but because she's forgotten how to receive it. She hasn't disappeared. The true feminine, soft, radiant, intuitive, and emotionally alive still exists. But she no longer reveals herself to just anyone. She's grown quiet, not because she's weak, but because the world has not felt safe enough for her to show up fully. Beneath the layers of independence, beneath the curated image and the emotional restraint, lives a woman who aches to be seen not for what she does, but for who she is when she isn't trying to prove anything. She longs to be met, not with expectations, but with presence. She wants to be held, not fixed, witnessed, not managed. She doesn't want dominance, she wants depth. But today, most men can't feel her because she doesn't advertise her essence. The true feminine isn't loud. She doesn't chase attention or broadcast her value. She responds. And she only opens to the man who is grounded enough, present enough, still enough to truly see her. Not her persona, not her performance. The woman beneath it all. The one who doesn't speak in words but in energy. The one who only surfaces when it's safe. To reach her, a man must embody more than just confidence or success. He must carry presence, emotional intelligence, and patience. He must be rooted in his own masculine energy, Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that holds. Because she doesn't rise under pressure, she blooms in safety. No, she doesn't. Want to be chased? She wants to be felt. And when that kind of man stands before her, unshaken, clear, and grounded, she remembers who she is. She returns to herself. She softens. She breathes again. In that moment, the real feminine awakens. Not as an act, not as a performance, but as truth. And with her return, love becomes sacred again.